Okay, well, this is video number 2, and what you see in front of you is the page on which all the topics are listed from Roman numeral 1 to Roman numeral 12. Gina and Cindy had 9. I broke one of them into 2, which added 10, and then I had 11 and 12. Let's see, what did I have? Facilitative listening and abide in me. So they will become clearer, but I like it when I can get it on one page. So that's number 1. That's going to be what I'm going to be using to explain this. The next handout that I have, and it's color coded, by the way. This comes from Father Waters' presentation in May on that day we had a retreat, and it's one of the handouts he had was Pieces of the Puzzle. Let's talk curriculum. How does a well-defined curriculum serve us and our purposes, so that we're not, it says salves, but it's slaves? Focus on the essential competencies. I think I went over this yesterday. Plan for teaching the particular skills, an integral and organic structure to the courses, and the course syllabus and outline. Okay, I have that in black because that was a color that I didn't have to really use. We're not using that topic all that much. Okay, so the next one is the Marian servant piece. This is not a Roman numeral because it's just an intro, but very key piece to my thinking. Okay, so if you remember, I was struggling to come up with mission. What is our mission? And then I got it down, and I'd like to discuss this, but I'll show you what I've got so far. The the student director, there's one mission for that person. What's the mission for the student director? Then there's another mission for the school itself, the staff and the curriculum. And then there's a third mission for the student as a spiritual person, not as a spiritual director. That's why when we look at it, both names fit. The School of the Spirituality of the Crucified Christ, that's what I have. I added that on. And then the School for Spiritual Direction. In pondering that, what I did was I went back to the Marian servant mission, and I'm getting distracted here. I looked at the Marian servant mission and I applied it to the students at the school, and out of that I got satisfied because I thought, it's always important that everybody in the group, the community, know the mission and remain faithful to it. That's what's happened with families and the church and marriages and relationships. People are making it up as they go along, saying they're Catholic, oh really, but not acting Catholic at all, or saying they're Christian and not acting as a Christian at all. So that's okay. So the Marian servant's mission to bring Catholic Christians to a deeper understanding of their vocation and mission in Christ, in the church, and in the world. So what is the mission of the students of the Cenacle, which is an apostle of Marian servants? It's going to have wording like that. And what I came up with, just to use the words, but it does fit, is to bring spiritual directors to a deeper understanding of their vocation, to be let me get the right words here, to be oh my goodness, I can't find it. Deeper sense of their vocation in Christ, in the church and in the world. So I drew this because I was trying to picture it, and what I got was the cross is the spirituality of all Christians and Catholics. But the cross, if you see there's a little opening there, it's really through the cross that we go through the door of the cross into resurrection. So it's always once we go there, it always leads to the resurrection. And unless we go there, we can't get to the resurrection. So it's the spirituality of Christ crucified. And then, let's see, relationship, identity, mission. The vertical part of the cross is the restoration of the relationship between man and God, which is Jesus. The horizontal part of the cross is where we get our identity, and we go from one dimensional to 2 dimensions. And the heart is what comes out of our relationship and identity. And I just drew it as a heart because that seemed to be the perfect thing to depict it. And because it's love. What comes out of that? What are we created to do? We're created to love. Again, before we get into anything. So that was that. And now I get into the list of proposals for the program from Cindy and Gina. And it is, we all have it, but I took them, and this is the first part, and I took them apart. Okay, so I took this, and then I came up with one that I saw, which I emailed everybody, and out of that, this is the first one that came in the, what do we need, what are we all about? Well, at the center of our every thought, word, and deed is the cross. Marian servants is the relationship. The Cenacle is the where we live these relationships, bringing people as student directors, and that is the foundation. And out of that comes number 1, the curriculum. Number 2, Ignatius spirituality, color-coded, by the way. Bible timeline, which I will show in a minute, is color-coded. It's just so much easier. You use a color for every time you're referring to Roman numeral 2, and it's just. I know it appeals to me, and I think it helps you remember. Number 3, what is spiritual direction? Number 4, the role of the directee. What's that? And then number, I'm sorry, I got this wrong. 4 is the goals and principles of spiritual direction. Number 5 is the spiritual direction process. Number 6 is healing and spiritual direction. And above that I put healing, period, because healing is one of the themes, and it's also it occurs in spiritual direction and so many other places. And we experienced that at the school. So I called that 6A because we needed something to call it. Okay, then we go back to 7. 7 is the role of the directee. 8 is the role of the director. 9 is the formal and informal spiritual direction. And 10, whole section on facilitative listening. 11 is abide in me. And I just realized after all that I forgot to put a section for the films that we talked about. And I made a list of the films. But so on this one I put number 12 right here, movie clips, videos, live demos. So we have 12 parts, 12 categories, 12 things that need our attention to decide how are we going to handle this. Okay, so this, I'll just go through since I have a little bit of time, and I'll pick up on the next one getting more specific. This is the brown color for Ignatius spirituality. That's Roman numeral 2. Roman numeral 3 is what is spiritual direction? I have that in green. The next one, Roman numeral 4, since it's in that same genre, is goals and principles of spiritual direction. Again, bounded by green. Number 5 is the process of spiritual direction. What is the process of spiritual direction? And any papers that go with that. I have these stored in this plastic bag that I got from Bed Bath & Beyond, and it fits, everything fits in it beautifully. And I like the fact that you see that it doesn't have to be in a huge bag, but it's nice and neatly contained. Number 6, healing and spiritual direction. Healing I have with the color pink. Pink construction paper around that. And then number 7, as we said before, is the role of the directee, which, and these are all Gina and Cindy's notes. I didn't take anything, I didn't add on to it or anything. And then Cindy wrote up a workbook page, role of the directee. So that's for number 7. Number 8 is the role of the spiritual director. Number 9 is the outline. No, it's not the outline. It's the formal and informal spiritual direction. And we know we don't need a whole class for that. It's just a topic. 10, which is facilitative listening, we probably need more than one class easily, because it's so integral a skill. It's such an integral skill that we need for spiritual direction. So facilitative listening is yellow, and the 2 add-ons that I have are the Abide in Me, which seemed to me a gold mine. I hadn't really thought of it when I was working with Adrian before in the curriculum, but it's a complete program, and it does what we wanted to do in the school. And then we have the movies, clips, videos, and demos. Here's the listening and observing Tevier. I went through and jotted down as many of the movies as I could, and my thought was, and I'm trying not to go into get real creative with a lot of this stuff, but for that one, it was to observe the characters and decide which are good examples, say, of the process, the director, the directee, and then have people in the class preview them and present them like the next day. So you're not doing all the work. And I just think involving students, they've shown that is really a good thing to do. But at any rate, using the films to communicate and reinforce the principles is the way to go. And then when I went through, and I promised to stop, but I went through the books, and one of Father Wickham's books talks about the stories, telling the story of creation, the story of sin, the story of, is it redemption, resurrection? I can't remember what it is. But it's divided into 3 parts. And that, I would say, is what begins in the exercises. And the more you can tell your story of sin, the freer you get. So that is something definitely that I would say, we would want to find a place for that. And it's really to help people tell their story. I've been working on that, and the more I can tell my story of sin, the freer I am, the more I can acknowledge this God's story of creation and live in it and realize God is creating me every day. That reinforces the freedom. And then the third part, which I don't have right here, I can't remember it, is the third part of the story. So that's that. And then the appendix I have not talked all that much about, but the appendix is where things like the newspaper articles and the discussion on prayer from the catechism, all of that kind of wordy stuff would go in the appendix, or have a link, even better, so that people could link up to it and we wouldn't have to run it off and put it in and cart it all over the place. but we do want some things there, like the false images of God. So there would be an Appendix A. The other thing that I think would be a wonderful add-on is a glossary and a vocabulary page. The glossary for the things that the terms of spiritual direction, and the vocabulary page for the things that, you're just like, what is he talking about? I remember your husband, Ron Novotny, just rolling kerygma, just rolled right off his tongue. I'd never heard of it. And that was the session for all these Greek words: homoousis, homostasis, homothisis, homothatis. It was like, so vocabulary will help. And that is the overall look at the curriculum, integrating and really following the lead with what Cindy and Gina have put together. All right, that's it. Bye.